Hey there, lovely people. Welcome back to another Story Study Saturday. I'm Sammi, and I'm a writer who likes to learn about writing through reading and share what I learned with you. This week, I want to talk to you about The School for Good Mothers because it just came out when I started reading it. It was very popular, going off, lots of really great reviews right out of the gate. So I was like, you know what? Cool. On it. Happy to start reading it. I didn't really look into the summary the same way that I normally do not. But if you are interested in a summary, I will give you my personal take on a summary. It may not have all of the same details that a regular book summary would, but it has all of the details that I found necessary. The School for Good Mothers follows Frida, who is a mother who made a mistake, and she had CPS called on her, Child Protective Services called on her. Through the new program that is being set forth in her state, she is sent into a program that no one has ever been through before. She is like part of the test group for this system. It is supposed to teach bad parents how to be better parents, and it's very sexist, and there are significantly more women in the program than there are men. If they are able to pass the trials and tests of the program, they are then able to get access to their children back. If they fail, they lose their children and they aren't allowed to speak to them or get in any kind of contact with their child until their child seeks them out after the age of 18. This is a book that I feel like has the same energy as Squid Games, with significantly different things at stake and a lot less murder. So let's get into my thoughts on this book. I think this book has an amazing connection to what the character is actually feeling as things are going on, to the point that I would put the book down and I would be mad for her, alongside her, about the things she was mad about, even when, if you take a step away and look at it objectively, she may be overreacting and a little overly sensitive about the things that are happening. But from the way that this book tells the story, I couldn't not be mad with her. There was no way for me to take that objective point of view and say, no, I'm looking at this through her eyes and she's overreacting. I never once considered that she was overreacting until I finished the book and I was like, wow, you know what? Maybe she was overreacting. That's how well connected I was to the character through the writing. There are also these high intensity, super valuable, like high stakes conflicts that were being presented that I have no personal investment into. I don't have a child that I have lost custody over. I have no personal connection to it, yet I was able to be fully drawn in, and the worries that Frida was having throughout the story were my own worries. As if I were Frida and what she had at stake, I had at stake, which was amazing. I haven't felt this connected to a character that I have no reason to connect to. I don't have any similar life experiences as her, yet I was fully connected and fully invested in every high stakes situation that she went through. I felt like I was going through along with her. And that's incredible to me, because there have been many a book that just by being a mother, I lost interest in the character, and this book tells you up front that it's about mothers, so I did not expect to be this connected to Frida and her story. The world building in this story was also really good. Even though it does take place in our world, there are certain things that needed to be created, like the facility where the program is held and where the mothers have to go and the system that they have to go through. And even though it is in the real world, there's a lot of things that make it feel different than the real world, or at least separate from how you want the real world to feel. There is no part of me that would have questioned if this was accurate to the real world if I had no prior knowledge about it. There was this really beautiful feeling of humanizing and dehumanizing back and forth going on through the program, where the mothers in the program would help to humanize each other and dehumanize the staff, and the staff would actively work to dehumanize the mothers. So we constantly get this back and forth of feeling both worthless and like you are worth more than what you are being treated as. And it's a really beautiful thing to see. I feel like it was done really, really accurately. I have never personally been dehumanized in the way that these characters had been, thankfully, but I feel like this was done really accurately to what I know as to why a person, like, theoretically would dehumanize another person. And I think that based on that little knowledge that I have, it was done really, really well. And I believed it the whole time. So I think that that is something of value. So what do I think could be improved about this story? I liked it a lot. I gave it a solid 4.25 stars, like close, more than 4 stars. You're doing better than what I would expect out of a good book, you know? Not quite perfect, but like still really good. And I would say that while everything felt like the stakes were high, there were moments where the pacing just didn't click in the way that I felt like it should, or the way that it felt like it did in many other scenes. Where there were some things that just went really, really slowly or too fast for me to fully see what was happening. And it felt like it was disconnected from the pacing that was actually happening in the scene. Not the writing of the scene, but what was actually happening in the scene. It felt like the writing went faster than what actually happened, or vice versa. The very end of the book, like the last 3 to 4 pages, really confused me. And I think that there was just one sentence, one sentence alone that I read that I did not comprehend. And because I didn't comprehend that sentence, all of what followed from that sentence then didn't make sense because they all hinged upon that one sentence being understood, and I didn't. So I was very lost at the end entirely. So I definitely think that that one sentence could have been more clear, because I wish I knew what happened at the end. If what I think happened at the end, then it's a very different ending than what could have happened at the end, which may have happened at the end, but I'm not sure because I don't fully understand what happened. It got vague enough that I got lost. So what can we learn from this book? I definitely think we can learn a lot about building suspense in a realistic setting where it's not necessarily something that is meant to be suspenseful. It's not something that you're fearful for your life or somebody's chasing you or whatever kind of thing. I'm not a big suspense person, but this gave me enough anticipation for what was going to happen and worry for what was going to happen to these characters that it did an amazing job of building that suspense without making it feel like a threat. I also definitely think that this is an amazing example of giving your story a clear perspective. This story is told from Frida's perspective. There is no way to get an outside perspective in this because you have to actively think to put your own perspective on the story that's being told because of how close we are with what Frida is seeing, experiencing, and feeling. I think that is really difficult to do to the level that she did in this book, because there is something so special about being so connected with a character throughout the story that you are actively angry with them. And when you step away from the book and you move away from it for a few hours, a few days, and then you think about what happened and you're like, wow, if I were nearby and I heard this story, I would think she was overreacting. But because we were so closely knit with her, we overreacted right alongside with her. It's like being inside the head of your best friend, where while you're in their head, you're like, yeah, you're right. He is a jerk. Yeah, you're totally right. You deserve better. And you can have all of that. And then when you step outside and you are yourself again, you're not actively working with her, you can look at it more objectively and be like, you know, he does have a point though about that. And you may need to work on some stuff in yourself as well. But we're never going to say that to our best friend, because why would we? We're here to support her. We're not here to support him. Obviously, that's not what we're doing here. But we're not friends with Frida. We're just reading her story, and her story has this deep connection to her that we don't have the time or space to think about it objectively. We just can think about it through her perspective. And that is a talent in the writing of itself. It is really, really well done. If you ever need an example of a story that prioritizes the main character's emotional journey, this is it. This is the one. Read this book, because there's no way to separate the reader's emotional experience of the story from the character's emotional experience of the story. And I think that's amazing. But that is all that I have for you today. If you've read The School for Good Mothers, leave me some comments down below. Could you put it down? Were you as invested as I was? I would love to know. If you haven't read it yet, what is keeping you from wanting to read it? What's stopping you? Let's have a little book chat in the comments down below. If you enjoyed this video, please leave a like. It'll tell YouTube that maybe more people would also enjoy this video, and it'll really help me out. If you don't want to miss any more content like this, hit that subscribe button and the notification bell next to it. And I will see you guys on Tuesday for a Writing Tip Tuesday, and back again on Saturday for another Story Study Saturday. So I will see you guys on Tuesday.